the lead investigator at Skinwalker Ranch, has just quit.
What we captured on those cameras wasn't just unexplained. It was aware. It knew we were there. It knew where every camera was positioned. With that being said, I am leaving Skinwalker Ranch.
Dr. Travis Taylor, one of the most credentialed scientists in America, multiple doctorates, decades working on classified government projects, the lead investigator at Skinwalker Ranch, has just quit after viewing footage that showed something so disturbing, so unexplainable, that he walked away from the most mysterious location on Earth. And Brandon Fugal's response is raising even more questions than answers. Dr. Travis S. Taylor holds not one, not two, but multiple advanced degrees from major universities. We're talking about a doctorate in optical science and engineering, a separate doctorate in aerospace systems engineering, a master's degree in physics, a master's degree in astronomy, and a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. This man has spent his entire adult life studying the most complex and challenging problems in science and engineering. But his credentials go far beyond just academic achievements. Travis has worked extensively for the United States Department of Defense on classified projects that the public will never know the details of. He's consulted for NASA on cutting-edge aerospace programs. He's been involved in developing advanced propulsion systems, weapons technology, and surveillance systems that remain classified to this day. He holds security clearances that grant him access to some of the most sensitive information in the United States government. He's authored over 25 peer-reviewed scientific papers published in major journals. He's written technical documents for government agencies that will never be declassified. He's appeared on legitimate science programs like The Universe and Rocket City Rednecks, where he explained complex physics and engineering concepts to general audiences. His reputation in the scientific and defense communities is stellar. This is not someone who jumps to conclusions or gets easily fooled by ambiguous evidence. When Travis Taylor joined the Skinwalker Ranch investigation team in 2020, it was a game changer for the entire operation. His involvement legitimized the project in the eyes of the broader scientific community. Suddenly, this wasn't just a fringe paranormal investigation. This was a serious scientific endeavor led by someone with the credentials and experience to back up every claim. Travis brought equipment to the ranch that most civilian researchers could only dream of accessing: sophisticated spectrum analyzers, radiation detection systems, electromagnetic field monitors, LiDAR mapping technology, and experimental sensors that aren't even available to the public yet. His approach was methodical, systematic, and deeply skeptical, which is exactly what the investigation needed. So now that you understand who Travis Taylor is and why his departure is so significant, let's talk about what actually happened. According to multiple sources close to the investigation who spoke on condition of anonymity, the incident occurred during a late-night surveillance operation in the Eastfield area of Skinwalker Ranch. Now, for those of you who follow the ranch investigations closely, you know that the Eastfield has been a hotspot for anomalous activity for years. This is the location where the team has documented some of the most intense and frequent unexplained phenomena. We're talking UAP sightings captured on multiple independent camera systems, electromagnetic disturbances powerful enough to cause complete equipment failures, strange animal behavior including cattle absolutely refusing to enter certain areas even when food is present, and multiple instances of human investigators experiencing unexplained physical symptoms ranging from nausea to temporary vision problems. The team had decided to conduct what they called a maximum coverage surveillance operation in this location. The goal was to have every possible sensor, every possible camera, every possible detection system focused on this area simultaneously, so that if anything happened, they would capture it from multiple angles with multiple types of equipment, all timestamp synchronized to the millisecond. The equipment array they deployed was absolutely massive. Infrared cameras positioned at 6 different angles around the perimeter, thermal imaging systems capable of detecting heat signatures from over a mile away, electromagnetic spectrum analyzers monitoring everything from low-frequency radio waves all the way up to gamma radiation, sensitive radiation detectors that could pick up even the slightest particle emissions, motion sensors using both passive infrared and active microwave technology, and high-definition night vision cameras recording at 4K resolution, all feeding data back to the command center in real time. The surveillance operation began at sunset, around 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Travis was positioned in the command center, which is located approximately 300 yards from the Eastfield location, monitoring all the feeds on multiple screens. Security personnel were stationed at strategic positions around the perimeter. Everyone was in radio contact. They settled in for what they expected to be a long night of careful observation. And for the first several hours, absolutely nothing unusual occurred. The equipment registered completely normal baseline readings. The electromagnetic spectrum was quiet. No thermal anomalies appeared on the infrared systems. No radiation spikes. No motion detections except for occasional wildlife passing through the area. By Skinwalker Ranch standards, it was an unusually calm and uneventful evening. Some team members were even joking that maybe the phenomena had decided to take the night off. Then, at exactly 2:47 a.m., everything changed in an instant. At 2:47 a.m., every single piece of equipment in the surveillance array registered an anomaly at the exact same moment. And I mean exact, down to the millisecond, according to the timestamp synchronization. The electromagnetic field monitors spiked to levels that should have required a massive power source somewhere in the immediate vicinity, something equivalent to a major electrical substation or a powerful military-grade radio transmitter operating at full capacity. But there was nothing there. No power lines, no vehicles, no equipment that could possibly generate that kind of electromagnetic signature. The radiation detectors surged beyond their safe operating parameters so dramatically that the systems automatically shut down to prevent damage to the sensitive instruments. The thermal imaging cameras detected a massive heat signature that didn't correspond to any known animal, any vehicle, any natural phenomenon that the team had ever documented. And the night vision cameras captured something that, according to those who have seen the footage, defies any conventional explanation. One source close to the investigation, speaking on condition of anonymity because they're not authorized to discuss the details publicly, described the footage as showing a structured object that appeared to materialize out of thin air, completely solid and three-dimensional, that hovered in a completely stationary position for approximately 30 seconds without any visible means of propulsion, support, or attachment to anything, and then dematerialized in a way that violated multiple fundamental laws of physics as we currently understand them. The object wasn't blurry, it wasn't ambiguous. It wasn't some distant light that could be explained as an aircraft or satellite. According to the descriptions, this was a solid, structured object, clearly visible on multiple camera systems simultaneously, with defined edges and what appeared to be a metallic or highly reflective surface. But here's where the incident takes an even stranger turn. What allegedly disturbed Travis the most, what ultimately became the breaking point that led to his decision to leave the project entirely, wasn't even the object itself. It was what happened immediately after the object vanished from view. The cameras captured what appeared to be a humanoid figure standing in the exact location where the object had been hovering just seconds before. And this figure didn't walk into frame from the darkness. It didn't approach from any direction that the motion sensors would have detected. It was simply there, instantly present, as if it had been deposited or left behind by whatever had just disappeared. The figure stood completely motionless for what witnesses estimate was about 5 to 7 seconds. And then, in what multiple people who've seen the footage described as one of the most unsettling and disturbing moments they've ever experienced, the figure slowly and deliberately turned its head directly toward the camera array, as if it knew exactly where every camera was positioned, as if it was fully aware that it was being watched and recorded. According to the detailed descriptions of the footage from those who have viewed it, the figure's physical proportions were fundamentally wrong in a way that immediately triggered a deep sense of wrongness in anyone watching. It was too tall, standing somewhere between 7 and 8 feet in height. The torso was too narrow, appearing almost skeletal in its proportions, and the limbs, particularly the arms, didn't move the way human limbs move. There was something about the joints, about the way they articulated or failed to articulate properly, that was profoundly disturbing to witness. Then, after those several seconds of standing completely still and staring directly at the cameras with what appeared to be deliberate awareness and intention, the figure began moving toward the camera array. But it wasn't walking, at least not in any way that resembled normal bipedal locomotion. The movement was described as unnaturally smooth and fluid, almost as if the figure was gliding or floating just slightly above the ground surface, covering distance without any visible leg movement, without any of the natural weight shift shift and balance adjustments that you would expect from any walking creature. Travis, who was monitoring all of the feeds in real time from the command center 300 yards away, immediately grabbed the radio and transmitted an urgent message to the security team positioned near the east field. Evacuate the area immediately. Get away from that location right now. But before any of the security personnel could even respond or acknowledge the transmission, something unprecedented happened. Every single camera in the array went completely dark simultaneously. Not a gradual power failure where systems shut down one by one. Not a signal interruption that might cause flickering or static. Just instant, complete, total black across every single camera system at the exact same moment, as if something had reached out and switched them all off with perfect synchronization. When the full team returned to the East Field area the following morning at first light, they found physical evidence that something extraordinary had occurred in that location. The ground where the figure had been standing, where it had materialized after the object vanished, was scorched in a perfect circular pattern approximately 8 feet in diameter. The grass within this circle was completely burned away, reduced to ash and scattered by the morning breeze. The soil itself appeared to have been subjected to intense heat, fundamentally changed in both texture and color from the surrounding earth. And here's what's truly disturbing. The soil temperature in that circle was still measurably elevated 12 full hours after the incident occurred, registering nearly 15 degrees Fahrenheit higher than the surrounding ground temperature. Whatever had happened there had released or generated enough energy to fundamentally alter the physical properties of the Earth itself. The electromagnetic readings in that exact spot remained anomalous for 3 complete days afterward, displaying bizarre fluctuations and patterns that made absolutely no scientific sense given that there was no power source, no equipment, nothing in that area that could possibly be generating or influencing electromagnetic fields. But here's where the story takes an even more disturbing turn, and this is the detail that I think really explains why Travis made the decision he did. When Travis went back and reviewed the footage frame by frame, analyzing every single frame of video that was captured before the cameras went dark, he noticed something that wasn't visible during the live monitoring, something that only became apparent when you slowed the footage down and examined it with extreme scrutiny. In the final frames before the cameras cut out, in the very last images that were captured, the figure appeared to be looking directly at the camera lens with what seemed like intentional focus, and in what appeared to be the reflection of its eyes, assuming they were eyes in any conventional sense, there appeared to be symbols or patterns of some kind. These weren't random shapes or visual artifacts caused by the camera system or compression. They were geometric patterns, precise and deliberate and clearly intentional, that didn't match any known human language, any mathematical notation system, any symbolic representation that Travis could identify despite his extensive education and access to classified databases. Travis spent the next 72 hours essentially locked in the analysis room, barely sleeping, barely eating, completely obsessed with understanding what he had captured. He reviewed every single second of that footage hundreds of times. He ran enhanced images of those symbols through every database he had access to, and given his security clearances, that includes databases that the general public doesn't even know exist. He consulted with colleagues in linguistics, cryptography, theoretical mathematics, symbolic systems analysis, and even reached out to experts in ancient languages and archaeological symbols. Nothing matched. Nothing even came close to providing any kind of framework for understanding what those symbols might represent or mean. And that's when, according to multiple sources who spoke with Travis directly during this period, he experienced what can only be described as a fundamental shift in his understanding of what was happening at Skinwalker Ranch. Up until this point, despite all the strange phenomena he had documented, despite all the unexplained events, Travis had maintained his scientific optimism and his belief that sufficient data and rigorous analysis would eventually reveal rational explanations. But this incident, this particular combination of the object, the figure, the biological effects, and especially those symbols, represented something that Travis could no longer fit into any framework of conventional science or even unconventional theoretical physics. This wasn't just unexplained. This was something that seemed to demonstrate awareness, intention, and purpose. This was something that appeared to be deliberately interacting with the investigation team. One source quoted Travis as saying during this period, "When you're studying a phenomenon in science, there's supposed to be a clear separation between the observer and the observed. You're watching something, measuring something, analyzing something, but you're separate from it. But what happens when that fundamental relationship reverses? What happens when the thing you're trying to study starts studying you back? What happens when it demonstrates not just awareness of your presence, but specific knowledge of your methods, your equipment, your intentions? That's not a phenomenon anymore. That's an intelligence. and that changes everything about how we need to approach this. Travis told colleagues the Eastfield footage suggested deliberate intentionality. The object appeared exactly where the most sensitive equipment was positioned, as if it knew the surveillance array's location. The figure materialized where the object had been, suggesting a clear connection. It moved directly toward the cameras with obvious purpose. Those symbols seemed like a message or warning that the team was exploring forbidden territory. But Travis wasn't just worried about immediate safety. He was concerned about what investigating these phenomena might be unleashing or awakening. A theory developed among team members that Travis came to embrace. Skinwalker Ranch isn't just where strange things happen randomly. It's where dangerous things are deliberately contained. The property might sit on top of something meant to remain undisturbed, a dimensional rift, an ancient structure, or something we can't comprehend. Every sensor deployed, every excavation conducted, might be weakening whatever containment was put in place thousands of years ago. Travis expressed concern that escalating anomalous events weren't random, they were direct responses to investigation. Quote, "What if we're not discovering something dormant? What if we're waking something up?" When news of Travis's departure circulated, everyone wanted Brandon Fugal's response. How did the ranch owner, who's invested millions into studying the property, react to losing his lead investigator? Fugal released an official statement. Dr. Travis Taylor, one of the most credentialed scientists in America, multiple doctorates, decades working on classified government projects, the lead investigator at Skinwalker Ranch, has just quit after viewing footage that showed something so disturbing, so unexplainable, that he walked away from the most mysterious location on Earth. And Brandon Fugal's response is raising even more questions than answers. This isn't just another Skinwalker Ranch story. This is different. What Travis saw on those cameras changed everything. Before we can fully understand the significance of what happened and why Travis's departure is such a massive deal, we need to establish exactly who Dr. Travis Taylor is, because this context is absolutely critical. This isn't some paranormal enthusiast who got spooked by shadows. This isn't a reality TV personality chasing ratings. This is one of the most legitimately credentialed scientists working in America today. And Brandon Fugal's response is raising even more questions than answers. This isn't just another Skinwalker Ranch story. This is different. What Travis saw on those cameras changed everything.